Yeah.
Let's see.
This is the new one of the days.
Hey, I'm sorry. Yeah. Next Thursday.
All right, Mark.
It's up to the board to explain. Rabies Day. Rabies Day. And I'm asking them.
So who would like an agenda?
Did you just get out of the pool?
Okay.
I
And
got
who
out of the
wants
pool an
to-
hour ago and I went to, I got my dad.
You want to go to the board? Oh, there is now.
Don't slide on it.
The board.
Oh.
For
Are you
fill
handing
out
that to me?
the board.
Okay.
And in fact, I'm gonna, even though if you're not gonna fill it out, I'm still gonna get
Oh.
all of you one. Because there's
Wait a minute, I'm
audience
sorry.
participation information
It's fine.
that hasn't been there.
Oh,
But it's in the policy. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, you want to shot the least good spot on it. Thank you. Yeah.
Yep.
For some free gravy shots for some of our homeless people, you know, who have dogs, they probably don't have their shots.
That's okay. This is, we can pass around.
I need it,
More for
you
fun.
guys can get before the back. If you don't know how.
Yeah, I want that on the white.
It's just. Just so.
What are we doing?
Okay.
My stuff.
Saying you get some more of them?
Or at least report on it.
You have a meeting. Yes. Yeah, do we get this until after that meeting? Why don't we look at it? I mean, it's kind of cool seeing that. I want to have a meeting. Before we talk about the finances, people can just look at this. It's a lot easier.
Sorry, one thing I talked to Lorlee about is that we have to make sure that every vote,
Okay, call
even
to
if it,
order. Roll call, Jereme,
you have to list everything's.
Mark, here, Kim,
Here.
Laurie,
Here.
Peg, Lorlee,
Yes.
Jill. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's for the agenda last meeting's agenda.
No, it's if there's any adjustments for.
Okay. That's next. Okay, so. Do I have the most modern updated? I have what you said.
I didn't see that you put all the new updates, right?
I did.
I see.
I emailed it out and. Okay, I meant after you made.
Just
now. You didn't make it.
I actually don't know.
Alright.
These are the changes.
Right, yep, I can see that.
Okay, so if I go to,
Yes.
I printed off 10 agendas.
Agenda's right there.
And then there's minutes from last month's meeting.
You want to stick those up the internet, you want to grab them, then they can have all the papers.
on the right screen. So adjustments to the agenda. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
Not for me. Motion to accept the agenda is mailed.
No, the minutes.
No, yeah.
Well, no, we haven't got to last month's meeting for minutes yet. We're just, so just for our schedule agenda today. So everything's fine.
Everything's good.
Okay, so 20.0 consent calendar, approve August minutes from regular board meeting. So we all looked at last.
I read them and I moved that we accept them as each.
And all second.
We have a motion to accept as is and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 30.0 unfinished business. 30.1 pool renovation update, Larry and Lorlee.
Is Larry?
Yes,
on?
Larry is on.
And
Let me ask him to unmute.
you might have to turn the computer on.
How's
Okay.
that?
Well, I can't turn the computer around. He's unmuted. Can we hear?
Can you hear me now?
Next time, facing one,
Yeah.
one and forward, one down.
Yeah.
All right, Larry, you're unmuted.
Okay, very good evening.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear
Turn
you.
that one around so we can see it.
There's nothing on that.
Yeah, oh, it's not on. Okay. Hi, Larry.
Good evening. How are you? Good. So Lorlee, I didn't know if you wanted to lead off with this section or if you'd like me to share my information with them first.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the fundraising campaign, that the reason that we hired Larry in the first place was so that we could raise money to do some renovations and upgrades to the pool. That is completely separate from operating costs. And I just wanted people to understand that they're two separate things. Because somebody had mentioned that they were questioning why we were entertaining maybe getting a loan down the road if we actually were doing well financially. And it's kind of two separate things. So I just wanted to make that clear that Larry was hired as a consultant to help us raise money for the pool renovations, not for operating costs.
Well, actually, Lorlee, if it's okay with you, I'd like to comment on that process a little bit, clarify it, and then share some information with the board tonight. So I did have an opportunity, obviously, to take a look at the minutes, and I saw where there was some question as to the fundraising activity and the cost of that fundraising activity, mainly being the amount that I was compensated over time. And I wanted to clarify the record in two regards. One was that I really only began the fundraising effort this past year or so. Prior to that time, I was predominantly involved in working on the bond issue. And as we all well know, the bond issue was not successful, but that's where I spent the majority of my energy and time the first year or so with the organization. The other point is that fundraising, like any other endeavor, takes a lot of work to build the foundation to get the effort working going forward. And I think in the period of time that we've actually been talking about doing fundraising, we've had some modest success, but we haven't had the kind of success that I think we could have with a more concentrated effort. Now, having said that, I thought one thing that would help the process is to take myself out of the equation. So today I went ahead and give a notice of resignation to Lorlee that's going to be effective October the 1st. The reason I needed to do it at this point in time was that my contract actually requires a 10-day notification before I would resign. And this is a little bit more than 10 days. It's about 12 or 13 days. But in any event, I wanted to give her adequate notice so that we could have a transition period, and I would work the next couple of weeks. And I've got this spelled out in my resignation letter to her. I would work the next couple of weeks in making sure she's familiar with all the contacts that we have developed and that she knows who to follow up with if and when funds become available from different organizations that have indicated they would be interested in funding us in the future once we demonstrated some benchmark success for the organization. So in that regard, I also said to Lorlee that I would be willing to work with you on a limited basis pro bono, in other words, for free, for the next several months to make sure that this effort doesn't get dropped if indeed this board wants to move forward with the effort. The other reason, and I'm just going to bring it right out and be very open about it, is it hasn't appeared to me of late that there's a full commitment from the board to go forward with this project. And frankly, if you're going to be out in the community trying to raise funds for an organization, you want to know with a real certainty that organization is going to try to utilize those funds for those purposes and to that end point. So I wanted to give you all an opportunity to talk, and certainly not necessarily with me online, although I'm very comfortable being online, about whether you want to continue the commitment to this effort. Now, the other thing, and this is what I told Lorlee I wanted to get into a little bit, was to repeat again why the board is doing what it's doing now. As I said earlier, the original intention was to fix the pool. Now, unless all the consultants, all the engineers, all the people that the group has called in over the course of the last couple of years have been wrong in telling us that that pool is highly at risk, then you need to work with the assumption that there is risk there. And the risk would be that if some catastrophic event were to occur with the plumbing, with the piping, with the whatever, and that pool was structurally compromised, you're not going to have a pool in that community. And trying to do a quick fix when the damage is done, I think, I'm not an engineer, but I imagine if we talk to them, would be much more difficult than being proactive and trying to fix it before it gets that bad. Well, when the board first talked about this, going back a couple of years, the idea was, well, let's build a new site. Let's build a new pool. Let's do a whole new deal here, if you will. But I think that, you know, obviously that was going to cost a lot more money than this group had available to it. And that's why they went forward with the bond issue. When the bond issue went down, it didn't change the reality of what's the state of the pool. Now, unless, again, you don't believe that the pool needs to have some maintenance and repair, then you got to believe we got to come up with some funding in order to fix it. And this goes to the capital point that Lorlee was making. It shouldn't come out of your operating capital. It should come out of a capital campaign. It should come out of funds that are designated specifically for purposes of fixing that pool. And the district came up with what I would call a good moderate fix to the pool that would cost about $1 million going forward, depending on whether you did some other repairs and enhancements as you moved on. So the $1 million campaign seemed to be feasible. Now, to date, I think you've got about 200,000 in your coffers. They could be used for that purpose. That's a combination of the funds we've raised here and in the recent past and the funds that you had available to you previously that would be considered capital. But you still need to raise about another $750,000. Now, knowing it was going to be a challenge to raise that much money in the public sector, the other alternative that was being explored, and it's still on the table, would be if you wanted to borrow some of that funding, about $500,000 of it, and go forward with the project. And to do that at a point in time when you were closer to retiring the debt that you have on the books now. So there was some thought given to, well, how do we do this? How do we get the funds in? And some consideration given to the fact that, okay, we can't do our $10 million pool now, but we can fix this thing for the next decade or two so that at least you won't be laying awake nights saying, are we going to have a pool for this community? So having said that, I'm still willing to work for nothing, because I don't want you, frankly, wasting your time or wasting my time arguing about whether I'm getting some money out of it or not. I didn't do this for the money to begin with. I did it to cover expenses going back and forth from Arizona to there to make this happen. I called upon a lot of the contacts and resources I had to see if we couldn't generate some interest, of which there is some interest. But I gotta tell you, it's been a heavy lift. There's not, at least to my knowledge, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 sitting out there that's waiting to give to this effort. And the other thing I've been asked of late is the district really committed to this project? So, this is maybe a pause in time here to say to you, I don't want you to have to be worried about what I'm doing or not doing with it. So I'm pulling myself out of that equation in terms of any cost factors to you are, but I'll make myself available on a limited basis because I've already accepted another engagement. But on a limited basis, I would be willing to help out and follow up on the leads that we have now. So I've said a lot to you, but I've kind of held my peace here for the last couple of meetings, didn't say much of anything. I wanted a chance to really study the content of the minutes and the comments and come back to you prepared to act in what I think is a proactive way, saying, take myself out of the cost equation, stay available to you to try to be helpful going forward if you choose to do that. So Lorlee, I'm going to stop with that information and announcement. You're certainly at liberty to share with them my formal letter of resignation, and I'm more than happy to try to respond to any questions that the board may have. And speaking of the board, I very much appreciated the commitment of the people on this board who have been involved with this project and have been, I think, struggling, trying to figure out how can we get this done, and have stayed with the project in large part because of them. So I want you all to know I still have that commitment to all of you, and will do what I can to help you go forward however you choose to do so. So I'm going to stop there.
Mary, this is Peggy. I want to thank you for all the effort and the time you put in trying to help us with this project. I'm for you. This is Laurie. I'm a little stunned by the news, but I appreciate how you are willing to help on a limited basis, at least. Been extraordinarily helpful. Been with you from the get-go. As have I.
For the part, thank you, Larry, and I do appreciate you willing to see this through with us over the next few months, and thank you for the work that you have done up to this point, and look forward to continuing to get this project, this renovation that we have completed.
Larry, I actually had somebody.
They need you to speak up even louder.
Oh, I've had somebody bring up an idea to me, I was told by you, since you're willing to do this on a pro bono basis. I've heard that unless you're hired by the district, you have very little authority behind your voice. And one person who was willing to help the district was willing to help the district for $1 a year to make it official, but essentially pro bono. Does that make a difference when you're talking with people?
Well, it's a good point, Jeremy. I think what makes a difference when I'm talking with people is believing in the project, knowing that there's a commitment to go forward with it. People, and you all know this, they can tell if you're sincere about what you're asking for. And when you're asking people to give money, I think what they really want to know is, okay, will this money be used for that purpose? And reasonably speaking, when will that purpose occur? So I think to your point, whether it's for $1 a year or whether it's pro bono, and the only reason I'm saying that is I wanted to make it clear that I'm not pursuing return on this activity. But it's obvious I can't put as much time into it as I would have in the past when this was the only project I was realistically working on, because I've still got to get some source of income coming in. And I will be doing some work that will keep me around, that will keep me with some visibility in the area and out of state as well. So all I'll say is I'm willing to help as I can, if you all want me to, and if I see a full level of support from the board, because a lot of organizations, and again, I'm going to be very open here with you as I can. A lot of organizations really ask their directors to actively become engaged when they're out trying to raise funds. And whether they do that by some token donation or by in-kind contributions or something, but something to demonstrate that they believe in the project. That kind of gesture, and maybe more than a gesture, would be helpful. Because I have been asked that question, have the directors gotten behind this project, and do they really want to see it happen? And that's why I wanted to pause here and say, well, I think they want to see it happen, but I haven't asked you that question directly. And I've sat back since you've had some change here and deferred to your process. But like I said, when I can read, and when I read the minutes, or when I listen to this activity, I'm going, well, I'm not sure where you all are now. I know where some of you are, but I don't know where all of you are. So maybe what would be of more value, frankly, if you want me to stay engaged with you, is for you all to talk amongst yourselves, not even necessarily in public, but privately have conversations about, hey, is this the right project, and is this the right project for us now? And if you came back and said that, and then took some kind of a affirmation vote or action on it, I think you'd be a lot better positioned to try to be successful going forward. Now, will that be enough to convince those who maybe haven't believed in it? Maybe that would be enough to look at another bond issue. I don't know. Those are questions you're going to have to entertain and think about as you go forward. But again, starting with the assumption that, hey, we really believe this pool's got to get fixed. And I guess, again, after hearing and reading everything, I'm going, well, I've always believed in this cause, and I've trusted to the experts to say it needs to get fixed. Do you all believe it needs to get fixed? And if there was an indication in the record for that, then yeah, I'd hang around, and you don't have to pay me a bucket. You don't have to do anything. Just I could work as an ad hoc volunteer, I guess, just like all of you, in the sense that when I don't want to be speaking on behalf of the district, though, if you don't say I can speak on behalf of the district. Up till now, I've actually had a formal connection to where I could say, yeah, I'm here representing the district and talking to you about the capital campaign they have for the pool. I think I could still do that to a lesser degree as a volunteer.
Very generous of you.
I'm sorry, people. Can you really speak up, because I can't hardly hear you?
That's very generous of you.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to hear you say that real loud. That was all. Oh, geez.
I think that's a great idea, and as this meeting progresses, I had some notes. I feel like we really need to kind of formalize this capital campaign. We loosely call it the capital campaign, but we need to show our involvement in it, and pick up around where you've been helping us. I've learned a lot by what you've done already, and I appreciate you being available if with us going forward, conditional on us all being supported. There you go.
Since we're talking about pool renovation, me personally, I can hear that, and I see on a daily basis. This pool, moving forward, this pool is a fluke that's been around for 100 years, we built as is. I don't see that.
Excuse me, I just saw some other notes from some people online that we need to be louder, please. That, I don't know if you could see that on your iPad or not, but yeah, project your voice from Dory and Laurie and some others out there. So to the degree you can.
But
bring it
my
up.
microphone is over here,
Okay,
so.
so what I was saying, this Mark, is personally, we need to do something. And the path we're on seems to be the best path at the moment. Since we're not getting a new pool, we're not getting a expansion. We're just trying to fix what we have to get us a few more years down the road. And I'm all for that. I just want to put that out there that this, I believe this needs to be done, and I am all for it.
And Larry, this is Peggy. I'm in the pool 8 to 9 hours a week in the mornings, all year. And I would be absolutely lost without the pool. So I can say I'm 100% willing to put in the effort that it's going to take to renovate our pool so it lasts at least another decade.
So Peggy, let me tell you, I am looking for a donor to give me $10 an hour for every hour you spend in that pool. And I think in short order, we would raise some significant funds. You're a real believer, I know that.
Not to pay to do this class. That's how much it means to me.
Second, what Peg said there, Larry, clearly we need to fix this, and the pool is part of our community. Since I'm new, I don't have the direction yet. I'm hoping this weekend will give me some more direction in this. But I've already been out once trying to do some minimal advertising. So if it would help, you mentioned it might help if a director was involved meeting with some of these people. I am more than willing to give up my time in that area if that's going to benefit.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that would be very helpful.
We're on 30.1.
Well, just, Larry, I don't even have words to say with how much I appreciate, working with you over the last couple of years. And just, you are a stellar human being. And, I just appreciate you, Larry, and all your efforts. Besides the helping us trying to fundraise, just, being around you and just getting advice from you, and it's just been phenomenal. And again, you are a stellar human being, and I'm so glad to have, got to know you over the past year.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm afraid my redness is going to show through on the screen here, because you've all been very gracious with your comments. And I do believe in the cause, so if you're willing to go forward with this, like I told you, I'll be available on an as needed basis. And maybe what I could try to do is see where we're at with some of these last asks that we've done and see if we can't get them materialized, and maybe show up at a board meeting a time or two and give you direct updates in that respect. So I thank all of you for your comments. I don't want to cut you off, but I also know you got a lot of business to cover tonight, and I don't want to monopolize all your time.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Signs, banners, and fundraising marketing options.
So the sign there right behind you.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, Jill put that together, and it's kind of rickety, so don't push it or move around too much, because it might just literally like accordion up It did that to me when I scared my staff. for doing it. Well, I mean, we had something similar like this that we would take to different events because, you know, like I said before, that, you know, we always do the community school district, wellness fair in the spring. We're always at the, chamber, business expo. I mean, there's probably 3 or 4 major events, you know, throughout the year that we go to, you know, represent school. And so the sign that we had before literally got destroyed, in May when we went to that wellness fair. And we kind of had, you know, we had duct taped it and whatnot, trying to keep it up. Oh, but it was windy that night and it just finally gave it up. But, so this is the new one for that. So this works great to take to community events or, you know, I think Jereme took some signs and stuff to, get concert in the park. This kind of thing was great for that.
This outdoor or indoor?
Well, I mean, it's, you know, I wouldn't put it out in a snowstorm, but I mean, it's fine to be indoor and outdoor. If you are trying to just take it to the next one. Yep, yeah, and so we did that, okay? And then we can also put that in the lobby, we have the other one. Although it's so kind of, like, if you barely touch that top, it comes undone, and then it just goes. So I don't know if I trust the kids, so I might not put that out more often. And then we came up with some kind of signs for like the yard banner type things, and we have a couple different versions. We have some that just kind of talk about the pool, we have some that talk about fundraising. Anyways, there's like 4 different options. And so Rose was working on this and Jill, I think there's 5.
4.
And Laurie, we're gonna go to talk here.
My friend, yeah, she was, I brought her business card, and she does design and does giant walls, and she's got a giant printer in her shop, and she does t-shirts, signs, banners, car, whatever you think those things are. But like for the local schools in Corvallis, swim teams especially, and she is an Ironman athlete and swimmer. We swam a couple of open water swims, so I said I would give her card. And if we have our ideas, send them to her. She doesn't do paper product, but she'll do, you know, like t-shirts and banners for walls and yard signs.
Have you, sorry to interrupt, but one of the things I was thinking of when you're talking about that is, you know, I forget when it is, but there's that concert that the high school puts on. There was somebody that passed away. Yes. And you know how they have that banner that goes across Main Street?
yeah,
And it's that, like every year,
Yeah.
they put that banner up.
They advertise nationally.
Yeah. So, you know, it could be that maybe we could see about buying some banner and have the city hang it up for a time or something like that, like, hey.
She does those things too, and I said, well, wouldn't that be fun? So, but anyway, she understands our cause. I've known her for years and years. She understands what we've been doing, trying, going through, and the need for a pool, and she's a believer. So there's that too, but if we, just send her any, you know, thoughts about something, she'll work up estimate, and could produce final products 5 to 7 days later, something like that. So that's what I.
You know, have you guys seen those signs that are in front of like the high school and some of the other schools? You know, like, don't give up, or you know, or you're worthy, or, I mean, I think there's like a dozen different slogans and stuff. Well, if somebody knows about that. Anyways, the woman that did those signs, I know she gave the school district like a really good deal. Cause actually our pastor knows the woman that did the sign. He was telling me about, like, oh yeah. Anyway, so I thought about trying to contact her and see, you know, what it would be to make a bunch of different signs like that, you know, we put in our yards or have.
Well, Lorlee, at the point that you find out if that could happen and what the cost would be, then it would come before us to make a motion to actually do it, correct?
Right.
And, yeah, it says in the policy that, in the contracting policy, that things under $1,000, you don't need board approval.
Right.
So for something like that, she could, if we did one of the great big ones.
Depending on the cost.
Yeah, depending on the cost.
Well, even, I mean, technically, I can spend money up to $10,000. I don't think it's anything over 10,000. But I generally try and get bids just to see.
With regard to, well, fundraising, this is kind of on the same topic, and I know you're gonna talk about fundraising, right? Are you gonna wait?
Whatever.
No, not yet. No, he went, that was going to that thing.
I think you guys all need to have seen it.
Something that I thought of, I noticed that, I don't know if you would do, but one of you guys posts on the Buzz and on Facebook and stuff rather frequently with the classes and that kind of stuff in the opening. But what about if every once in a while you threw out something like, the first 10 people who've never been to school to get a free class by message? Just something to get people who haven't been here.
I know that for our lessons, whenever you complete the sessional lessons, all the kids get a coupon for a free family center.
So I just was thinking, people who hadn't been here, because a lot of people on that Facebook group are stay and new. I don't know anybody. What's there to do? So I was just thinking that they might be the audience that is in there that would, you know, jump at a free coupon to come and take a class or bring their kids one day or do something to get them in the doors.
One thing that I noticed that was missing at this time, our culture loves the word free, right? Favorite word in the world. That's the one thing that's not on the banner, and yet it is in our flyer, and if you've got a good free offering on your business card, I feel like that's the one thing I've been missing from a flyer that I would take to the park. When I went to the park, we didn't have any of this stuff, I'm kind of confused because it's a little embarrassing, honestly. Because we had so little, like, the Rickio table, the wind was up a little bit. I'm glad that we're getting our game together here a little bit.
Well, I mean, it was short notice.
It was.
We did have program guides.
Yeah, and the program guys were great, I hang out a few of those. And they were actually pretty, I mean, cycle time to well put together. There wasn't really a stand to put them on, but it does feel like definitely some room for improvement. Because of the wind, if I were to take something like this out there, maybe a version of that could go in front of a table, but got holes in it, so there's wind blow holes.
Yeah.
Because I was having trouble keeping things together. I had a couple of weights on there to keep it all down. The other thing I was thinking of is the band did announce, which was my embarrassment a little bit. They announced all the people who were sponsoring the event, and of course I wasn't one of them. So I'm wondering if in the future we can look at the Lebanon calendar and look at minimally sponsoring a lot of these events, to have a list of things like, now who wants to go to this event? It doesn't just have to be board members, there can be community people who can come pick up little things to assist the event if they are going.
Well, and one of the events that we normally sponsor, have in the past, and probably going to be in, was the chamber puts on, like, once a month, they'll put on some, they have a dinner, like a forum lunch, trying to look for the word for that, a forum lunch, and they'll bring in like a speaker or something. You know, it could be somebody, a business leader or something like that. Well, a business in the area will actually sponsor the forum lunch. And, you know, you pay for the food and whatnot, and then you get so many minutes of free, where you can get up and talk about, you know, the pool. We had done that past, but with COVID, they kind of stopped doing that, but now they're bringing it back. It was at the hospital in their event conference center area.
Something like that would be part of a different demographic. You had out there, children, the bride is more like the sort of swim the pool demographic.
What, on a big sign like that, what would be free though?
Well, what is, we have our pretty first swim, I think is a big thing, right? So I don't know where we put it, this is a beautiful sign. I'm just
You have
thinking of other
little
things that we
cards
direct-
that do, see, the other thing about free is, I mean, because we're a district, it's hard to give away stuff for free because it's for the public, you know what I mean, like,
Well, I'm not saying we need to change, we already get something like that for the first swim. We
Well-
don't need to change it,
it's not really the first swim, it's, I mean, for the kids that are competing lessons, it's kind of like their door prize, especially if the kid moves to one to the next level, you know, then they have a coupon to come back to swim. with their
okay,
family.
when I was looking at the flagpole, I thought I saw the first swim in there. And it wouldn't even have to be on the sign, if we had something like that, it could be on the, full of dockets.
Yeah, I was thinking about sometimes people have cards, so if you visit my booth, here's a card. And on the back says, you know, a free swim, and that,
If we have that.
yeah.
Or not.
Did you have any when you were? I was
No, we
curious.
just had the trifold, but they
Oh,
were
okay.
great, I mean, those are really nice.
Another thing that we've done in the past too, is in the summertime, like the very first rec swim of the summer, after school gets out, and we have our 1 to 3 rec swims, we would have a free swim for anybody in the community, like the first, you know, 150 people in the court got a free swim. We've done that before, just kind of to get, you know, the word out, like, hey, the pool's here. We even had hot dogs. And,
That was fun.
you know, remember, and we even had a sale on family passes.
I like that.
Is it still my understanding that if a member, has somebody from out of town or a guest, they can bring their guest in one time for a swim free? Is that still in effect?
No, we don't do that. If somebody was silver seekers or the supplemental insurance memberships, if they come in and they're in the process of getting that all squared away or whatever, we usually let them, like, they can try it for free. We do that a lot, especially with the seniors that come in, well, my neighbor come down here and try yoga, and it's like, well, here, try it. So, yeah.
Will we pick our yard size tonight?
Well, these are just,
One for each.
yeah, these are just examples of what you might buy,
You want the
That's good.
so.
You want to change them or?
Well, I mean, they're slightly different, so I don't know if you
Right,
guys
well,
handed them out.
wanna
Oh.
look them over and then.
Kyle.
Don't throw it on the table, Lori, but Kim, that's yours, I think, and
If we, yeah, and I mean,
Mark?
most of these signs, they're less expensive than the one we
bonus
buy.
one.
So,
And they
you
want
know,
to
if we
sign.
did buy 100, it'd
Could-
be a better
Could we
cost
buy,
area.
could we buy more of them and have something in the back which community members want?
Sorry.
Buy a few extra?
Yeah, as long as I can figure out where to put 100 of those yard signs. Just looking at them like. Just, cause, you know, space is just a premium.
Oh, wait, okay.
Yeah, they are all different,
It's a little bit, so there's 4, right?
yes.
Okay.
I thought there were 5.
I have 4 or 5.
Four.
Jeremy, what are you holding? A paper clip bunch of a kind? Or,
Nobody have this one? Have a donor today?
Oh, it's on, oh, yeah, that's the first one. Yeah. So I have 4.
that's one.
Okay, any more on yard signs, banners? This is amazing, good job.
This is,
Like Ben, we got ideas flowing and rolling, so making progress.
So I guess then what's the next step for the next thing to happen?
well, I can reach out to her, or I can I can get a hold of the name of the lady that did the ones for the school district and find out, obviously, the ones for the school district were just white with black lettering, a lot cheaper, obviously, than, you know, the filling of holes. But, so I'll,
I would suggest maybe we, for, finance, for maybe boil it down to two, a donation one and a basic advertising one perhaps.
okay.
If the ones that we like, and then we can have a few movies that don't get too crazy. Or I know people do like diversity.
Well, let's start there, because again, like, I don't wanna order like 100-yard signs, and then you like drop like a lead balloon and nobody likes them, and then I'm stuck with it. So maybe order like, you know, maybe 50 or 25, you know, half of one, half the other, and if they really take off, we can get that.
I don't want to do the street. That's what I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know. We
See, I can still get any visitors.
Yeah, me too.
My horses would look at it.
I like these two. If you, I think if we could tell her which ones we like tonight, then we, at least we're
That would
moving
be
forward.
I like
So,
the basic one myself.
you like the
In
basic
my
one?
yard, yeah, this is what I want to put in my yard. I feel like I like the red color on it, but I like the,
Well, I'm sure we can experiment with the color too.
If you initialed in the upper right
Yeah.
hand corner, which ones you liked,
Yeah, I
yes.
just like the little-
I'm missing one, if there's four, I don't have
Which one?
one.
Okay.
Which one am I missing? Okay.
Three have red, so you're missing one
I
with
need
red.
a red.
One of them that's red is
Has. Okay,
Yeah.
is that, I have, okay.
Do you have the one with the swirly?
Yes, I have that.
Okay.
And
Okay,
I
that's the
have
same
this
exact-
red, and,
How much younger? Then this might be the one you like.
yes, no,
Yes,
yes.
yes, that's the one.
But this is mine.
Oh, that's yours. Well, I like it.
No, it's not that one. It says raising funds. You have one of the, this
Okay,
one?
I like.
But I see it, I see it. Yes.
What I like.
Okay, so let's, like Jeremy's plain one over there.
Mhm.
We're gonna do that one for sure.
Okay.
And then how about this one that Mark's got?
I like the raising funds to renovate our pool. I guess I like that verbiage better than become a donor. Which is my
Well, because you
opinion.
might see that drive by and think we're trying to raise funds to get to there.
You know, that's the one I don't have, and I like that word really big.
That's the one you're- Yeah, I like that.
Either
Well,
one.
you have two. Can I get Lori one? They're two, yeah, they are different. They both say raising. So I like the raising without the word. Yep.
honestly, I like that too. I could get on board with that.
Well, but this one and the plain, we're gonna do,
Yeah.
maybe two. So,
Okay, yeah.
so these two,
Okay.
and this one.
All right, I already got one.
Yes.
Just let Lorlee loose on that, or do we have to vote?
No, I think,
No,
I think we're good. So let's move on that.
Okay,
Thank
Any
you.
more?
Awesome, thanks, Lorlee, good.
any more on 30.3, yard signs, banners, fundraising, marketing options? So we'll have that.
Hopefully hopefully I should, depending on how long they take, we can have some.
Because I'll go out in the dark. And you know, people that put the flamingos in people's yards.
Oh, yeah.
Election season, I wake up and see stuff I never even knew existed,
Yeah.
and I driving down the road, so.
Maybe we can piggyback on Dayla's Blue Angels, like that, I mean, how they go out with those.
Yeah.
The flamingos.
Honestly, that would be a good idea. The cops are really struggling for money right now. We're struggling for money. Maybe we could do some joint events. Just to connect with the public.
We'll get firemen to go hold it for us.
Yeah, there you go then. We have whole
And
fence.
there's swim stuff.
Yeah.
I've read it, man. I'll be right back.
Okay, 30.4, updated employee management.
Okay, so it's 41 pages long, and I did not, the printer, conked out this afternoon, and I can't get it going. And so my thought was, did I send it out to everybody, and I mean, I just wanted to get it on the docket so that, you know, cause it'll take a month or two probably to hash it over, so we could either, you guys could either just read it and give me your ideas, or you could say like, yeah, it's great, just we'll adopt it, or we could chunk it out to like first, you know, like 20 pages next month, and then the next 20 pages or something like that, so then it's not, you know, printing off 41 pages.
Is it already on digital?
Yeah, I sent you something. I sent you something.
I read the thing, I did respond to you.
Yeah.
Thoughts on it.
And Mark and I also had that same conversation about our regular board comments. So maybe we could have it electronically and just start thoughts and send them all to you to see how we can get some of the things that are in here updated at the same time.
Yeah.
That way we're all participating in giving you what we think. And I mean, you can write it up however, and then we can all read it. And, yeah. Be happy or not, and give our secondary opinions on whatever they are. There's a lot of updates in that too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it'd probably be better to do one and then the other. You know what I mean?
Okay, sorry, I dropped the ball. I haven't had a chance to read the rest of it, explain that, so I will make that point. Yeah, the rest of it.
I do have a question now, I read the email, was that like a rewrite the manual?
Complete, 100%. Yep.
Like, man, 41 pages to read, we got to open there, some change sections, I did read them, but.
No, our manual is it was pretty out of date. And then, of course, you know, the state keeps making new laws and stuff, and so then, you know, depending on what new laws they make next year, we'll probably have to update it. Yeah, so.
Okay, so what are we doing with that first time?
Well, I mean,
We're gonna all read it and send her our
Okay,
and then we can bring it back next month and revisit it.
sounds good.
Do you think that you'll be able to make, if we give ourselves 15 days? And then that gives you 10 days, maybe get it back out to us so that then we can make a final decision. By the time we have the next meeting, instead of we can have them take things down.
So our homework is by the end of this month, about the end of October, first week of October, if we have something we want to bring forward to the attention.
Yeah, that's fine.
Fair enough. Okay, take it back.
Yeah, it is the next thing on the list, and I realized it's not that, Sarah talked last time that I was thinking we could ask if anything to add before we talk about.
Okay,
She's here.
is this our only public? You're the only one that wants to speak, Sarah.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, Sarah, it's your turn.
And talk nice and loud.
Oh, I can do that. I can do that. I'm Sarah Jameson. I'm from St. Martin's Episcopal Church. We're there on Milton Street, the corner of Milton and Williams. And we have been helping the homeless in the community for a long time. As you know, we have breakfast for the homeless and a lot of other kinds of resources that we provide for people. And we have in the past bought the shower coupons, each be $1. Jill Smith used to be a member of our church, and so we would come down and get them and give them out to people, because obviously if you don't have access to a shower, you know, it's against your health, it's against your dignity. It makes it hard for you to get a job or keep a job if you can't be clean. So, and this was all before COVID, and so everything was much easier, and we weren't so overrun with so many people. And then it was COVID. So we've been trying to start up with the showers again. Well, then the price went up, which of course the price of everything is going up, so I get it. And Dayla Johnson, officer, that's the community outreach person, she works with us at the church also. And she said, hey, we should go ask the pool, could they make a less expensive version that was maybe shower only and not a pool pass to swim, that we could hand out. Now, Soup Kitchen had a donor who gave a whole bunch of shower passes, and that was terrific. And we have been buying them just like out of my wallet, you know? And so that comes, you know, it adds up, and we want to help as much as possible. Now, Dale reminded me that the city doesn't have any money for this, and there's no plans for a public shower at this time. And there aren't any other agencies in this town that have showers. Now, I've heard rumors about, well, maybe when Crossroads gets their downtown welcome center, blah, 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 there might be showers, who knows when that might be. But in the meantime, we have people that can't get a shower. Now, they can sometimes jump in the river, and they actually do jump in the river, but of course, they can't do that in the winter. I mean, they could, but they shouldn't. So, so we want to ask you, can you consider some kind of a way to have a less expensive option so that we can help more people get showers? When I have had them, and I will say this truthfully, I have been cautious about who I give them to, because some of our people on the street are more following the rules, and some people have more mental issues and have trouble following. So I understand that that can be an issue between who comes in to take a shower or not, especially when I say, the big empty room full of naked people under the showers, you're not just a separate, you know, room. You don't have just a room to yourself. So I can understand the issue, but I would really like to encourage you to consider, you say you're a community organization that really try to come up with some lesser price that we could afford to provide more showers to the people in this community who really need them.
That was powerful. And I'd like to support the cause.
And I remember before, when we did this, there were certain times. that they
Exactly.
could Come in, because they can't be here when the kids are here.
Well, that's right.
Doing lessons and that sort of thing, so.
That's right. It was like 11:30 to 1.
Right.
There was a set time right at noon that you could come and get the shower. And so, and that's perfectly reasonable, I think.
Would somebody from the church be willing to be here to not necessarily be in the shower, but to oversee who was coming in and help? I mean, take responsibility if anything were to happen.
Well, I could ask, we don't have a lot of volunteers. I wear many hats. And so we could ask whether volunteers from the Soup Kitchen or Crossroads community, somebody that could be there to help assist people, yes.
And so I understand that you guys did this before and there was some
We are
issues.
still,
You're still doing it. But if someone tried to bring in their shopping cart full of stuff,
we've had that too.
right, but that's why if someone was here, that's why I'm saying they don't necessarily have to be in the locker room with the shower part, but at least making sure no one's bringing in their shopping cart. Nobody's coming in who shouldn't be because someone handed their coupon off to someone else, even though you guys were being diligent about making sure who you were doing.
Well, I could certainly ask. I mean, if there were people that would come down and help out. I know a lot of the people, but I don't know all of them. And we go to the Soup Kitchen also and give away care kits to, you know, toothbrush, toothpaste, washcloth, shampoo, all that kind of thing. And we do that, but other churches do that as well. We're also a church that is part of the Laundry Love. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but every Wednesday afternoon at the laundromat by Walmart, there is free washing and drying for people, and different churches cooperate. So we go, the Lutheran church goes, the Foursquare church goes, and we go with about $220, and we pay for people's washing and drying of their clothes, because again, it's expensive, and if you don't have clean clothes, and think of the kiddos going to school. I see moms in there with baskets of their kids' clothes, and they have to have clean clothes. You know how they'll get picked on if they don't have clean clothes, or if they're not clean, or they smell bad, you know, it's a problem.
So, I'm sorry, the coupons that are handed out, is there anything on the back of them for setting expectations of the person on the coupon?
Well, no, but it's not gonna, I mean, it's not gonna work. It's half and half. Half the people that regularly that come in that, they're under the influence of things, or they're, they've got mental issues, whatever, and, they come in and they destroy the locker room, they make this huge biohazard mess. Jim's had to clean up several of these messes. We've had thefts. I mean, it's 50-50, and because we allow them to come in, basically whenever we have, new lap, that's when we try and really encourage them to come. I mean, nobody came today, but somebody could come tomorrow, or we're never gonna know when they actually come. And,
Well, what if there were less, what if it's not every day that's available, kind of like we just said about the laundry, day, right? What if it's Mondays and Thursdays, or Tuesdays and Fridays, or just some more control with a volunteer who turns away intoxicated, or, who says to your shopping cart. Just to give a little context, I was recently in Washington, and I was at a hotel, and I was at the counter, talking to the night auditor, and a homeless man.
Louder.
Oh, that's a homeless man. And what I saw was that the organization had come to the hotel earlier, paid for the room. Not only did the organization have to sign the paperwork, that they understood the responsibility and that the person would get kicked out if they didn't follow it. The person had to sign the same document saying they were following. And I heard the night auditor say that the person from the organization who had come vouched for the homeless person who was coming in to stay at the hotel. But she listed off, you can't be under the influence, you can't have people in the room, you can't, they were very clear on what the expectation. I just don't know if we have those same kind of clear expectations.
we do, in that, we have full rules, right? Nobody can come and be under the influence. You can't come to Rexford and be under the influence. You can't, come in and hurl obscenities at my staff. Whether you're here as a homeless person taking a shower, or you're just here for Rexford. Those kind of people get, asked to leave whenever they come. I think the issue is, that they want a reduced price. And, I called around, I called the Albany Community Pool, I called Corvallis, and I asked them, and they just charge their admission, their adult admission price.
Now we're currently, it used to be $1, now
It was $1 back in 2018, 2019. And then when COVID hit, we didn't have showers because you had to make a reservation for the time. And it was so limited. Well, then when we were able to fully open back up, then, that's when I called around. So the price then just changed to the single admission price. And what is that? Oh, Rose.
$4.25,
Because
$4.25 to $4.75.
I think that I saw the Malala does their showers are $4.
Well, it sounds to me like one of our biggest problems is administration. We've gone to $1.50, we've got challenges, different demographic of people. We need to have the staff to clean up and monitor. There's a lot of administrative overhead that was covered by that additional $3. Is there a suggestion or a way that the church can help us reduce that administrative burden that we're taking on? That unfortunately, it sounds like we don't have the staff for it, knowing that we're dealing with a challenge here.
Yes, and I know what Lorlee is saying. You can put up a sign, we have signs at the church that say, don't do this, don't do that, but people either don't read them, and a lot of times they don't read them, or they may not have any glasses that actually can read them. And we've actually had 2 people that didn't know how to read, even though they were adults, they could barely read. On the other hand, if they were printed on a ticket, then when you gave it to a person, you say, okay, now this says you won't do this, this, and this. You'll understand this, and then to go over it with them. Now, of course, not everybody remembers everything. I do not remember everything, but it's much better if it's written down, because then I could go back and actually look at it. But I like your suggestion about maybe we could try to find some like chaperones that would. Now, I don't know every person though that might come in, so although I know lots, I don't know all of them. So I might be, I don't wanna say I would be discriminating against somebody I didn't recognize. Say, I don't know this guy, so I can't say if he's any, if he's good or not, whereas everyone's like, oh, yeah, I know you, yeah, I know you, and it could be tricky if I know a couple of our people who have mental health issues, because they do, to say, well, you have a mental health issue, so you don't get a shower. Yeah, that's really hard. I mean, they can't help it if they have mental health, even if they're getting medicated. It's still not always as stable and properly rule following as where I might be. So I appreciate your considering this, and maybe we could talk some more about some ways that we could find some funding, possibly find some volunteers, possibly have some rules on the tickets, possibly.
Reduce the number of days.
Limit the number of days.
So, to kind of speak a little bit of what you mentioned, it's not just, the unhoused folks that are coming in. I mean, in the summertime, when the jamboree is going on, I'll have people call and say, hey, we're camped here for the weekend, can you run down and take a shower? Because we're here for the jamboree all week. I've had people camped at Gill's Landing, that campground RV thing. And they're here just for a short time, and they want to know if they can come down and take a shower. So we're not talking about just the unhoused or whatever, or the homeless, or the mentally ill. I mean, we provide showers for the public, whatever the issue is. I've had people call up and say, oh my God, my plumbing went out, and I've got plumbers here fixing it, but I have no water for 3 days or whatever. Can I come down and take a shower? And it's like, yes, you may. So, I am totally fine with letting people know when those hours are available. I think the biggest issue is we need to decide if we can reduce the price, and if so, how much.
I think for me, I would really need to go through all of it. You want to hear it every single day, do the administrative office and stuff. So I really do want to help. Unfortunately, we're not a church. And I feel like our overhead cost is best known by Lorlee, so I would be relying on anything. It does sound like we've got some good suggestions, maybe. If we could somehow reduce that ticket price by having the church do some manual labor from there.
Well, I'll have to take it back and talk to the people that I know. I also, although I can't be at their meeting this week, there's Live Longer Lebanon. If you've attended that. And so Live Longer Lebanon is a citywide group of different organizations who try to come up with all kinds of activities that help the people in Lebanon have healthier, happier, longer lives. It's not just kiddos, it's not just old people, it's everybody. And so showers is something that the people of Lebanon could benefit from. So there may be something that could be brought up also to that group. Unfortunately, their meeting next week is Wednesday, and I'll be out of town, so I won't be able to. But let me see what I can find out. If I can come back to you with more information, perhaps next month at your next meeting.
Or you can even just come back to me, and then I can just.
I can share you the information of what I've learned so far, what I've done with your suggestions, whether someone else has come up with another suggestion that I didn't think of. Do you think of anything? Okay.
Well, Jim I'm gonna call you up.
All right, Jim.
Jim had come up with an idea from the last meeting, the homeless shower. And I think we could kind of do kill two birds with one stone. So we could look at reducing our price to benefit anybody needing a shower. And then also maybe we could put on a special event, where, we're closed on Sundays, or, we open up at 10 in the morning on Saturdays. Well, maybe we open up special from 8 to 10. And then and we publicize this event, let's say it's the last Saturday of October. And we get the word out, and then maybe the church people could come and have some volunteers, and we open up the facility for a few hours and basically say, hey, homeless people, whatever, come take a shower for that time. And the church would help with like the cleaning and the, I still would have to have a lifeguard or somebody certified on duty, because what if, heaven forbid, somebody ran out of the locker room and jumped in the pool?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I would have to have lifeguards available just in case, even though the pool itself would be open. and we put on some kind of special event that
Well, we could definitely consider that as another possibility, you know, of different, it's good to look at different options of how we might be able to make this work. And we can still come up with, and we do, people are very generous, like if I say it's laundry love this week, people come up after church and give me $20 to buy, you know, quarters. And so if I say, hey, I need, you know, 10 people to sponsor some shower tickets, and then I'll have shower tickets. And
Yeah.
so, you know,
or like this, if we do like a special event, maybe we can say, okay, we've got money for 50 showers, and then we just advertise, and the first 50 people in the door for that 2 hours get a shower.
well, we can definitely talk about 8 in the morning would be hard for some.
Well, I just use that as.
But,
an
yeah, I
example.
know, you're
But I
just
mean,
thinking
we
in
could
the,
do 3 in the afternoon to be closed and 3 to sleep.
right, okay,
Yeah,
well,
Rose is doing this. But we
Yeah,
know,
1 to 3, we're
One,
closed,
yeah.
there's nobody in the building.
Could
Sarah,
the
can you spell
church
your name,
provide a
please?
volunteer, lifeguard or like you and
No,
other reasons it has to be something else?
yeah, I would feel better about it. Who knows? Maybe they said they're lifeguard or they were lifeguard 20 years ago.
Oh, I would assume the church would provide people, I wasn't sure, I know a lot of places, unless you're actually on payroll, insurances, and everything like that.
Yeah, no, they need to be our own staff. Plus, we know where it's at. So,
thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
We'll keep on this.
I feel we can definitely work something out.
Okay,
Thank
thank you, Sarah. Okay, 50.2, digitizing and online availability.
Okay, so, I have asked several times for Lorlee to send me things, and she always has to go find them. They're in books, she has them. I have a solution. The, city manager for Somerville has, offered to, work with you to get a unpaid intern from the high school or the college, someone who's interested in government, to do all of the digitization, scanning, organizing, so that any of the documentation that could be available to the public is right there, and we don't have to keep bothering you for information. The Somerville board has given him permission to follow, to be able to do that. And so if it was something that we were interested in, literally it's not really the board, I don't know what you call it. The person who you guys chose, because you would advertise it at the school, and you would interview like a job, but it would be unpaid. They would get a letter, like a letter of recommendation to add to their resume when the project was over. He had to digitize all of the resolution records for city when he started, so he's already said he's process knowledge he's already done. And so we're directly with you.
What all do you want to digitize? Because, I mean, we have a storage unit of stuff, just, I mean,
So
there's.
with the
20 years
resolution, so the resolutions, they would go through and they would determine which ones are valid. And those are the ones that they would digitize the resolution.
Talking just the website, or are we talking about hard drive?
So what he told me is that the way that the city of Somerville does it, and I don't know about the our new webpage, so maybe there's something different. Google has a free page that you can get, and you can put all of the records on the city of Somerville does, and then it links to your website, so if anybody wants to
Google
go.
Drive or Discord.
Yeah, so for any of the, so then anyone can go in it. So we could decide that I've looked at a few websites, including the city, and it looks like that the, agendas and the meeting minutes for those agendas go back at least 2 or 3 years in what you can go in and click on. So that's what I would propose that we
Add that on
decide.
our website now,
The
the minutes. and
The minutes
agendas.
only go back to January of last year.
changed over the website, they went back. So, like,
Okay, but that was just the minutes in the agenda, right? So you already have those electronically, they can be added to this page. The resolution should all be gone through. That also gives the board the ability which resolutions are active and when one, is possibly maybe updated. Or should look at.
Lorlee, do you know how much storage we're paying for on their website? By any chance? I know it kind of detail.
I mean, it's, well, I don't know how much storage we have on our website.
Well, currently, all of the stuff that we're uploading, is it being uploaded on our website storage, or do we have some other?
Well, we have a physical storage unit. And then the stuff that goes on our website is just basically limited.
So just upload the website.
And it's $40 for the blog posting.
Okay, I know nothing about this kind of thing. So my question is, why would we have to have everything back 10 years on this as an?
I don't know what the state law is. I think that there is state law that public records are public records forever. I just don't know how much you have to provide, how far back you have to provide to the public. The thing about the resolution, every resolution is valid until a new one is made that replaces it. But I can't go anywhere to ask for resolutions are valid. None of it, they can't go anywhere, or we have to go through books to find if we're asking for something. So this way, all valid resolutions would be available, and it would also give us visibility. Just as an example, and I know I brought this up last month, and I'm still going to talk about it, the contracting policy. It's from 2007. You started in 2014, right? So it's 7 years older than even Lorlee being. And there's been 10 legislative sessions by the Oregon legislature, and every session they've made things to the Attorney General model board. So when I read that, it says that our 2007 resolution, it says in there that we will supersede anything that we wrote on the extra pages supersedes the model rule, but the model rule could have changed to say superseding. But we don't know that because we haven't updated. So it gives us as a board visibility to make sure that we are all staying up to date too on the changes and the new contract, the Attorney General model rule 200. So they just keep adding. That's my example. But this way, you know, if anyone wants to go look them up, they're just there. Plus, we all know you're not having to go take your book. We all know which ones are the valuable. We make sure.
Well, we do have public records requests.
What's up in there?
So that is a way that people,
You know, for pre-digital era, still, you know, that's been the process. Is that right?
most government bodies especially have the forms right there on the website. That you can fill out the forms. I know the school district has them on their website. And then you can submit your request electronically, and then I can charge people, nominal fees to retrieve whatever record they want.
But that doesn't help us have the visibility to update. I guess that's where I'm going. If I wanted to know, if I asked you every valid resolution, would you be able to go find the book and walk me?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I sent you the last 2 years worth of fees.
Right, but this is all resolution. So every resolution that's in the book, even back 20 years, if it wasn't replaced by another resolution, it's still valid.
Yeah.
So we still need to know all the valid resolutions.
So the valid ones are the ones that are behind. And supersede the ones that they replaced, correct?
If something was done like this 2007 one, it's never been replaced or looked at since then. So there could have been something done 20 years ago. Maybe not because the board is not that old, but 2002, no, 2000. So there could have been one made in 2000 that no one's ever made any anything to, but we don't look at it frequently enough to know what the value is. So it's no cost to us. Alex has volunteered his time. He was offered to work with Lorlee so they could find the right person. It gives someone a opportunity to, I don't know, whatever they do with the government class. College and the high school to get some credit and get a nice letter of recommendation. And it gets us up to date with knowing what's active in us.
Well, since this is basically the first time we're having, could we have another discussion now that we're not just in our heads, that this could happen?
Absolutely. And Mark and I actually talked about that when we met last week, that we think we need to do a better job, all of us. If we want to talk about something, getting it to Lorlee so that when she sends out the agenda, we get an information packet so that we have time to look and read about these things so that we can make decisions and not have to keep putting them off till the next month. And a lot of districts use that information packet.
The information packet, you're trying to do.
So we had talked about that it makes sense. So like Lorlee sent out the new policy, gave us time to look at it. If we had this as a process, because we don't share stuff with each other, right? Like I could have written up about the digitization and sent it to her, and then she could have sent it out to us in the information packet so that we all can know ahead of time what we're gonna talk about. And then I could use the chance then to read it and then ask questions and then use those.
Not costing us a new generation, we're all digital, so.
So if that works for you guys, and we can put this off, and you can think about it, whatever, whatever, but.
I'm gonna make a motion to table it. And, look at it, if we get some more information. And then decide what we're going to do.
And I'm not sure there's any more information to this. This is really all I have. They said Alex has offered to do it at no cost. This is what it will provide. And then he would work, if we agree, yes, we want to do this, he would work for us to make the job.
Now, how much time are we talking about with the volunteer and how much time? I guess I'm asking about, how much he needs to work with Lorlee to digitize all the resolutions.
No, only the active. They, okay, so
Oh, I
So
got you.
Alex would work
I
with Lorlee to make the job description, right? Then they would pick the person. And then I asked him, would it happen at the pool? Would it happen at the Sotaville City? He's there 4 days a week. Where would it happen? And he said that him and Lorlee would work that out. He will supervise that person. So as long as, I mean, Lorlee would have to put in a little time to do the app or the job description and pick the candidate. And then talk to Alex about how the process is going to flow and where it's going to be. But other than that, he will take care of the whatever day-to-day, once a week, whatever the person is going to do, he will help guide them in that process.
Probably something like 2 to 4 hours of all time.
Right. Just in the beginning and she can ask for progress. Where are we? You know, he will probably say to you, okay, see these two things, maybe you can't tell what's what, and you know, you would have to. So not a ton of her time.
Speaking of that, Lorlee, might be nice at some point to get, for me or many people, a rundown of your schedule. Just so that I don't feel like I'm overloading you, kind of know what your duties are, so like, oh, okay, we get over 10 hours, that's gonna kill us, versus if you go 2 hours, yeah, there's some hindrance. But I like to use for me to have a better idea of what I'm asking.
Well, I mean, I'm salaried, so, I mean, sometimes it's 60 weeks or 60 hours a week, sometimes it's 40. I mean, it just kind of depends on what's going on.
Now, certainly, I would like to get some more information about this. And go from there, if that's all right with everybody else.
So since we can talk to each other, but not everyone, can you email me what your questions would be? Because I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure what other information I can give you, but if you tell me what you want, then I will get you. Okay, all right.
Okay.
If we go in digital.
So that's taken, so the next month.
It's always, Whatever, I gotta type down, no. Do we need to make a motion for that? Oh, I think that's fine.
Do we have to make a motion to table or can we just? we were
Pe-
talking about
Peggy
it?
already made a motion to table it.
Yeah, and I'll second the motion to table till next, and get in more information.
So, okay, and I'm good with that, and I'll say I to your motion, but does that mean we have to do Sarah's too for the showers? Do we have to do a motion to table that also, since we're going to talk about it later? I don't understand.
Well,
the thing sometimes,
That's
so-
my point, but,
I don't think you need to make a motion.
okay,
Okay. So,
Maybe that's something, just something.
yeah, they were gonna talk
But
about it.
I am happy that we are working on getting something in the system where we receive information back from Lorlee or from, so we can send a group email with, as long as somebody replies.
Like Jeremy did the information. that I
provide
needed.
information, yes,
So I look forward to more information.
And so maybe, Lorlee, if we're gonna send you, things to add, maybe just put our name after it, so we know who's talking, and then if we send it to you, we should also send our information along with it, so when we send it out. That way we know who, and you can give information what you want.
I'm sure, what was,
So if you wanna add something to agenda, you know, like yours had your name last time, right? Your name, you wanted to talk about,
okay,
so you added something to the, it would say your name, like this would say, United Station blah, 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 dash K.
well, so Lorlee will just indicate who
Who's,
the idea
who's
was.
person's gonna talk about it, and then when we ask her to add, if we have information to give with our ad, we should send it to her at that time. So
I
that,
like that, in the public knows more about
right,
anything more.
and I think, I don't know if you know this, Wendy, but I think if we do information packets, I think when you post the agenda on the school page, you have to post it. It's not on this. Did you say school? I think I did. Either way, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, except it'd be, because I posted on the window too, you know, so.
Get out of both.
Yeah.
Well, I think you could put the single agenda and maybe at the bottom, if you pick up the information packet if you want one, if it's what you're posting here.
You just throw a QR code on it.
I mean, it's not a problem to send it, you know, it's just harder to. Post if you have a lot of.
Right, and I think it's.
As long as it's legal, it seems like just throwing a QR code on there for information packet. If somebody really wants to dig that deep in, you think they'd be willing to scan a QR code.
unless you're older.
You don't know why there's a little picture on the paper.
I just asked you last meeting, where do you buy a QR code, so, all right.
Okay, 16. Executive Director's Report.
Well,
Or, you know, or
Yeah.
not. No, I think she said she was the only one. Did anyone new have anything to talk about?
We only had one.
Yep, that was it. Anybody on Zoom?
There's a question about allowing captions for the meeting via Zoom, which is challenging. Somebody has to type them in.
Something Zoom can't automatically try and do it. They got a message.
No, not as yet, not as yet.
Well, speaking of that, can we get something a little fancier like the city council has? They got
Oh.
a little yellow color. I don't know. We
I
didn't get
talked to
full-
city council, the reason I did that, so the whole top is the city council. The bottom is our policy out of the policy manual, because since we haven't done it before, it was just a.
Well, I know, but do we need that for every single meeting, for every single card? It seems like a waste of space.
If new people are here and then they don't, the only other option would be to make it a half sheet and put the name part on the front and the policy.
Okay, just for information, I think the way city council has, it, they got a little card rack and they got the policy right underneath it.
So we have a better organized process of giving them to people, and that's the reason I did it with the whole.
We do do have a request from Mary.
Hi there, my name is Mary Wales and I use the pool 5 days a week, so it's important for me to take a look at the records that have been posted. And my comment is about regarding the Excel spreadsheet that the expenses were introduced during the July meeting and discussed again in August. On the top right of that document, it lists the director's salary incorrectly as $289,000. I'm concerned that this misinformation now exists in the public record and has been distributed among the public. At the August meeting, Jereme mentioned that there were other columns to the right of that spreadsheet, but those could not be seen. And in the interest of transparency, this information should be corrected to match the actual budget and expenses of the pool. We would not want the public to incorrectly assume that the lifeguards and other staff work for free while the director is the only paid employee.
I think that's a good comment. I'd like to say I got all fixed. I did make a really good effort here. If anybody wants to see it, I started going in that direction to break it down. It was brought to my attention. I still got some incorrect numbers. I'm still working on those, but they are getting much closer to the accurate numbers. If you go to the spreadsheet itself, there's a lot of notes on there that it's much more helpful to view that actual spreadsheet you're referencing rather than use pictures or the static document. But I am working on getting those numbers much closer, and the document is much more accurate than 180,000. That 180,000 was not intended to be a focus point, and I just cut it off the document I presented at the time. So we're getting closer on those numbers. Yes, you are correct. That was a bad thing to present at the time. It was not the intended focus of that document. Yes, it's in one of the, it's in the first video that I streamed, but we should get it posted somewhere. I haven't wanted to bring it up at the board yet, so I know it's a little.
Yes, I wouldn't want to see your preliminary numbers posted, because I've said before, I believe you're looking for something wrong with the picture that our bookkeepers and our auditors have never uncovered. It's never been the case, and our budget committee that meets once a year and goes over a budget, a balanced budget, is comfortable with the budget. Now, you do bring your numbers, and I give you a lot of credit for how you work at what you believe in. But until we come to some resolution about the numbers you're bringing here, I don't even understand why you feel so compelled to convince. I believe the outcome is to convince us that we're operating in a $54,000 deficit.
Okay.
Is
Let's stop this conversation. Thank you for your comment.
Mary.
Mary, thank you, Mary. And we do have a meeting this Friday with the bookkeeper, and we will get a lot of this, if not all of it, resolved. So Lorlee, we can have a conversation.
Yes, but to address Mary's concern that your document is public, I do feel too, it should be removed until there's, well, that's how I until we have some resolution about it. I think it is misleading to the public, and that's why I feel passionate about it. Okay.
And Mary asked if there's a date for when it will be fixed.
We have a meeting this Friday with the bookkeeper, and hopefully, if not on that day, very soon afterwards, everything will be fixed.
We'll also have her look at the document. She's operating off a version that's older than the number she's currently referencing.
Where is the document?
Well, I suspect it was passed out and she's got a copy of it,
Yeah.
that's all.
Okay, well, if Mary would like to look at the pool's budget, it is on the website. And that is the document that they should be looking at.
Right.
I mean, that's the budget that was passed by resolution and adopted by the budget committee and this board. So those are the good numbers, that's what you should be looking at.
I think you could see that document looking at YouTube.
Yes, and
That was very
personally,
nice.
I love the critique, because that's the only way my numbers get better. That's part of the reason why I want people to see them, to correct my numbers. So, I need to get them.
And excuse me, but I remember the discussion we had about that page. And we were kind of gasping, and you said, just ignore the right-hand side. It's the left side of this document that I feel is accurate. Well, but the whole document went in. So anybody looking at it afterwards would not have heard that disclaimer.
Lorlee, I agree that your budget is, I saw it on your website and it's fine, but the spreadsheet does not reflect those numbers, and that's also on the website.
Well, and I agree, that's
On
a
the YouTube.
problem. Well, it's not on our website.
No,
Jeremy's spreadsheet is not on our school's website.
But it's in the minutes of the meetings, and therefore it's public, and it's on this board's website.
One more, what, you
Is
mean
it-
in the minutes it's on the board's website?
I think she's referring to the fact that I presented it all now it's in the.
Right. That's correct.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
And we move on. Executive Director's report.
Okay, so one of the things, that falls under financials, and I'd like to mention is, Jeremy had reached out to me, a few weeks ago and asked about the interest rate that we're getting in our money market fund. So, in the past, before I became the director, we had been using the Oregon's local government investment pool to have all of our property tax money deposited in that account. And so back 2013-ish, but I think the previous director before me even, initiated not using the LGIP and instead putting it into a money market at a credit union. And I'm sure at the time the interest rates were better at that time. But anyways, now, so Jeremy had me look into the LGIP, and the interest rates would be considerably favorable if we transferred our money back into the LGIP. So I got a hold of them, and for August, their interest rate was 4.5%. And currently what we're getting in the money market is 0.2%. So it'd be a huge, savings, and a gain on interest for us if we move the money back into LGIP. Now, the LGIP still does go up and down. It just doesn't go up down as severely as, as the money market. So the folks at the LGIP said that they need a resolution from the board to make the change that we would apply, because we have to apply all over again, which, we had been in it before, so, we're gonna pass for sure. So I have a resolution if you guys are wanting to read it, and then they also would need the section in the minutes, the body of the minutes that say that, we're gonna apply for the local investment pool. And then assuming that we would get accepted, then we could move the money from the money market back into the LGIP. Or do you want me to share it? Read it out loud.
A resolution of the board of directors to apply for and establish an account with Oregon Local Government Investment Pool. Whereas the board of directors of Lebanon Aquatic District has authority by ORS 266.440 deposit and disperse district money, the board consents to apply for and establish an account with Oregon Local Government Investment Pool. Now therefore, be it resolved that the board hereby instructs the executive director establish an account with the LGIP with the state of Oregon and to transfer all money from the money market account to an LGIP account upon successful completion of the account formation process and setup. And it would be adopted by us today.
And here's the application. I just have to fill it out and then, you know, scan this in, scan that in, and then it's. And, I mean, as soon as I send it in, it takes 5 days. Yeah, it's just a savings account with the state of Oregon that has way better rates than what we.
Okay.
I move we adopt this resolution, to move our money from the money market to LGIP.
Yes.
We have a motion, and second, all in favor?
Aye.
And that was a good,
Thank you.
a good week.
One of the good things so far to come out of the office.
Yes. Okay, so, August financials. So I printed off some and then the computer died, I mean, the printer. So I have the balance sheet, if anybody wants to look at the balance sheet.
Is that the one that Laurie and I can have from my phone?
Well, no, Tina
Tina.
sent out all 5 reports, but I didn't print it off.
Okay.
So and keep in mind that our fiscal year starts July 1. So, you know, if you look at the other reports that shows, you know, where we are year to date, we're only, you know, 2 months in that. Okay, so for August, there's money in the general fund checking, there's the money market, and then that's also broken out to the PEP, which is the pool expansion fund, the reserve fund, and then there's swim club fund, they have a checking account. And so all total between everything is, right now, we're 451,431.97, which, actually, we're a little bit ahead of where we were last year at this time. So that's always nice. And then if you want to look at the budget report, that is the 5-page one. I have some copies of that. Okay.
And they just have staples, or we are they just have staples?
That's 5.
It's 4. I'm sorry.
It's for, okay, just try.
Yeah.
I work.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I had to print these at home, so I didn't see. I'm sorry. Okay, so for August, we made a little bit of interest income. We had a donation of $1,000. We had some property tax money come in, obviously all our different admission things, some lessons. So our total programs for August was $17,427.01.
I know.
And then the total revenue, which is basically all of our programming plus the taxes and whatnot, we're at $29,173.98. And then it breaks down all of our different expenses that we have for August, which it's not too out of line from what it normally is. And then we obviously had some maintenance building equipment. Basically all the stuff that we use for, you know, fixing things. We spent $111,1382. And then under supplies, office supplies, that was probably the biggest. Oh, and then pool chemicals, that's running expenses, the PERS, I think Jeremy had a question earlier about PERS, and everybody is eligible for PERS, not just the full-time people, but the part-time staff too. So that's why our PERS is
Eligible, you can opt in, they are opting
it's PERS, death and taxes.
in.
Yep, so once you become eligible, then you now have forced savings. Which most of my staff are high school kids and they, they're like, wait, no, what, you just took out $50 out of my paycheck, it's like, yeah. So, anyway.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, I have a question about that, that is not mandatory by the state. If we want to turn it off, the high school kids want to make it optional, that's something that work to do.
No. No, because from what I understand, every entity that sets up PERS, like, they go through all of the, what you can and cannot do when you set it up at that time. Like, we could get out of it, but it would cost probably just as much to try and get out of it, as it would be to stay. But once you work 300 hours in a calendar year, then you become eligible for PERS. So there are some people that, they work a little bit here and there, and then they're gone for, a summer or whatever. So they never actually hit that 300 in a calendar year, just because of, they're like temporary, and then they're off, and then they're temporary. Okay, but the other flip side of that is I have a pretty low turnover of staff. I have people here that have been lifeguards, 6, 7, 8 years. So definitely most of my staff are all hitting PERS or are already on PERS, just because of that reason that, I have a pretty low turnover. Which is really good. But PERS is expensive, and the rate adjusts. So, they change their little percentage rate every year, and it's on a buy-in. And so, like, I think it just had a little hike or whatever, like last year or something. It'll stay for the next couple of years. But, that's why I'm always trying to guess at how much more do I need to put in there. Because as people make more, then they're going to contribute more PERS.
That's something we have to guess at, they don't give us a number.
No, because it's all on how much you make, how much you can work. You know what I mean? I can.
Is that something where at the end of the year, they do have to do up with us?
No, they send us, Tina, our bookkeeper, she's the one that handles that. But she's always sending stuff into PERS. And then what happens too is, like, say somebody becomes eligible in, August. Well, then she has to backdate it. So then sometimes people have to make up for PERS. So then I'm having to pay into their PERS, on a month that we already paid for.
Because she does that automatically.
Yeah, and I'm glad she does too, because it's, oh my goodness. There's a lot there. But, I, for one, yes, I'm older, so I appreciate it, but, I think this is a really good benefit, that we have. Frankly, our part-time staff, for sure, they don't, they get mandatory sick leave from the state, that says we have to provide that. But other than that, they don't get anything. So, this is a good benefit. For sure. Okay, so of course our total expenses were a little bit more than our total revenues, which, that is not that unusual. And then we didn't have anything on capital expenses. And then of course it was our loan payment. And so is there any questions specifically, or?
I had a curiosity one, we had a big change the last month for a legal question or something. I was gonna email and I forgot.
So basically there was, yeah, no, it wasn't, it was, advertising. So not to throw, the Albany Democrat Herald on the bus, but their billing department is not very responsive. And so, maybe other people had that experience with this, but they sent me a bill this year, because we have to, we have to post our, the budget hearing and, the budget committee meeting, and we put all that in the paper, as, we have to by law. And, well, there was, whenever we post anything in the paper, it's under the legal advertisement, like the agenda or the budget or whatever. And, well, they didn't send me a bill, I guess, from like 2 years ago. But I'm just now finding out about it. So then, after several phone calls back and forth, talking to people here with Lead Publishing or whatever, and then it turns out the people that do their collections is like on this coast, and anyway, it was just this mess. And so they finally broke down exactly that we didn't pay the bill from years ago. So then, it's actually should go against, last fiscal year or 2 years ago. Yeah, that's why that's a mistake.
So did we have to pay them or are we hiring them?
Oh, no, I
They're just hard working. I was like,
No, I paid for them, it's just, they just don't come properly.
I thought we had a lawyer doing an advertisement. What happened?
No, it was just under legal advertising. That was the category that
That makes sense.
the bill got put to. And here's another example. So the high school, especially in the summertime, and I get it, okay, because, a lot of their administrative people and all the teachers are ready to leave in the summer. And I think most high school or most school district people have like the month of July or August off. And so we don't always get our June or July utilities bill in a timely manner because people are on vacation or whatever. And just like me, I have to have Jim climb up on the roof to read our gas meter. Well, their gas meters are up on their roofs too. And so then sometimes you have the person in the office who's ready to send out the bill or the invoice or wants to, but the person that goes up on their roof to read their meters is gone that week or whatever. So that's why you'll see sometimes we have to go back after the fact and put down June's utilities, in when I finally get to pay them in August. But, those are really the two that come to mind consistently is the utilities might be a little bit late, not because I don't pay them. And then whenever I post things on the Democrat Herald, they don't bill in a time. I didn't get any proper texts.
Okay.
And then Jill was sick too, so usually she sends that in. And then, she'll update that form. Okay, building update, quick here. We had our shutdown and, Jim and I came in on Monday, the holiday at work. And, I gotta say, the first couple hours, I was like, this is going great, like everything's right on track. And then of course, the train goes off the rail a little bit. And then, then him and I both were just like, oh my gosh, like we're not gonna open up on time. It's just terrible. But we worked through it and we opened up on time. But, there's always snacks. We had some problem trying to empty the pool, but we had to empty the pool so that we could empty the surge tank because we had this big plumbing repair that was gonna happen Tuesday morning at 7 a.m., 6 a.m. 6 a.m. Okay.
I was
And-
here at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, yeah, and I was here
4:30
till,
to 5.
and I was here till
And
like
not
8
half an
o'clock
hour.
Monday night, trying to make sure, so we were on this big time crunch. But, we did a lot of painting, my staff did, and cleaning, that repair got got made, and I had pictures, but I couldn't get the printer to work right. And so I couldn't print them off, but the section that got replaced just looked so blue and pretty and shiny. And they said that when they took off that piece that was bad, you can see part of that cast iron pipe that goes into the wall right there from the surge tank, and it looked actually really good. And they were just like, wow. In fact, we even said, the contractor in his email said, we were expecting it to look a lot worse because it's, 56, 7-year-old cast iron that's had chlorinated water going through it for, 55, 6 years. So, so that was a little bit encouraging. And we didn't lose too much more paint or sloughing off from the walls with having the pool empty. So that's always scary. I mean, probably the biggest, scariest thing out of the pool operator's side is whenever you drain pools. Okay, because think about it. You have all this water pressure that's keeping everything where it's supposed to be. And then when you empty it all, oh, hey, it seriously. Now, as a lifeguard, that's not the scariest thing I'm worried about, but as a pool operator, yes. So anyways, everything got worked out, and we have a whole list of stuff that we did. Like, I mean, I won't bore you with all of those, but just super proud of my staff that hung in, and of course Jim did a great job, and we opened up Monday. Like, I was in Canada Monday morning, and I was waiting for my phone to blow up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, it was nice. So,
When I was here at 6:30 Monday morning.
yes, and was the pool cold?
No, not bad at all.
Okay, that's great.
It was up to temp by Sunday afternoon.
It was great.
You're the man.
You know, class that complains about the water being cold, I just throw in their wind.
There you go. And we had an in-service this Saturday for my lifeguards. We try and do at least one a month that's in the water in service. We also do like some dry land, some other kind of in services throughout the month. And so we got that coming up, and I haven't had any complaints really from people, so everybody just seems super appreciative that we're open back up. Even that week, I told people it's just a week. But yeah, so everything's going good. Right to spend it.
Yeah, thanks for saying that.
Yeah. Well, the warm pool is.
I got it.
Okay.
I'm just curious, one little thing. You talked about how slow it was to drain. I know we have only the one main drain in the deep end, is that right?
Yes,
That's what,
yes.
and when we get it, when we get the pool renovated with the new liner, and that will, though, at that time, we'll have 2 drains, like we should, OSHA-wise, or whatever authority, safety-wise. And then will that help the draining? Because you can have to do that
I mean,
manually?
yes and no. So the problem with this time was, we had this leak, so we had water going into the surge tank from an area that it shouldn't have been going into the surge tank. So the surge tank was going to be filling up faster than we would want it to.
Sure.
And so then when you're using the big pump as much as we could, right, until we lost prime. Well, then we had some other smaller external pumps that we had going. Well, then the next big one, how many does that big one do? That it's like 200 gallons a minute, maybe, or 125 gallons. So
Yeah.
so the big pump
100 gallons.
will pump out water at 750 gallons a minute. Okay, that's awesome, right? We can drain the pool. It still takes like about 4 hours if you can get the big pump going and keep it going. Well, it lost prime, and so we had 2 small pumps, and they're like 1/4 horse pumps or 1/3 horse pumps. So they're going like what, 14 gallons an hour or whatever. I mean, they're slow. And then we had the secondary pump going at like 200 gallons a minute, and we had the big pump going at 750. Well, we were doing great. Well, then about 3 hours in, you know, and I'm like, man, we are right on time. We're gonna have this thing empty by 1 o'clock. Like, this is perfect. Well, the big pool pump pumped out and lost prime. Couldn't get it going again. Then the secondary pump lost prime at some point, and we could not get that thing, because think about this. By this time, the water level dropped down like 3 feet, right? And so you're trying to suck that water up through a straw, basically, at a vertical height. Well, we just couldn't get it to do that. We even put the pump down onto the, you know, the bottom of the warm, or the big pool, once we could get enough water off of it that we weren't, you know, electrocuting ourselves. We even tried that, we couldn't get it to get going again. So then we just relied on 3 little teeny pumps, like sump pumps that you would put in your basement that are gonna take water out at like 14 gallons or an hour. So anyway, so if you lose prime, it's just a problem.
Well,
But
in
we
hindsight,
did great. But going back to the question, I know that when we get the 2 new drains, we're gonna also have to upsize the pipes. Right now, all the pipes that come off the pump are 6 inch. We have to upsize them to 8 inch. Okay, because if we redo the cast iron piping, we are not gonna make the state requirements for the amount of water turnover in an hour with the size of the pipes that we have. So that's partly why this endeavor is expensive, because we can't just like take out and put in a new drain and new piping and plug into what else we got and turn everything back on. We have to upsize all of that. So it might make it so we don't lose prime as fast, or it might make it so we can empty the water as faster. But we try not to empty water. It's expensive for one thing, and it's super time consuming. So if we do a drain down, we try and only swap water out like in the summertime once a year. I don't like emptying it just completely and refilling it. We try and only just maybe take off, you know, a few feet and swap out of the water. But the warm pool, yes, we do try and drain that out 3 times a year, 2 or 3 times a year, just because it's like a giant hot tub. And we are backwashing, and it's sanitary, it's safe, the water's always great and balanced, but it is a good idea to change that water out.
Okay, deputy remarks from the director.
I'm excited, but I want to understand still. I saw a newspaper article that the Lynn County Commissioner gave us a grant.
It's the youth wage grant.
Is that something we get every year?
If I apply for it, yeah. Basically, they subsidize minors that go to work for businesses in the county. And in years past, they paid like $5 an hour or $3 an hour. It varies. This year it's $2 an hour. So and you can only submit 3 minors. And so I submitted 3 minors that I hired this summer. And it's from May 1st until September 30th. And so then I just have the bookkeeper tally up how many hours that they worked with 3 individuals. And then I send that in with our paperwork, and then I get paid, I believe it's $2 an hour. I get a check for $2 an hour for all the hours of those 3 individuals.
Up to $1,000.
Yeah, per person. Right.
I thought it was a $3,000 grant, so
Yeah. And so I've been doing that, oh my gosh, for years. And in fact, I don't know if I think I mentioned this, but a couple months ago, I think it was like June, I was sitting in my office, and now I have to share this story because this just was like the last thing I wanted to do, but I'm in my office and it's like 11 o'clock and this guy calls me up. He's like, hey, I'm a reporter with KABAL News and I'm on my way right now to the pool because I understand you participate in this Lynn County Youth Wage Grant. And I'm like, yeah. And so I I talked to him on the phone a little bit, and he goes, no, you don't understand, I'm coming to the pool right now, you're gonna be on TV, and I'm like, wait, hold up, no, I don't wanna be on TV. And I'm like, what are they, weird today, you know? And he's like, no, everybody's turned me down, I've called all these different farms and grass seed farms and everybody in Lynn County, and nobody wants to come on in front of the camera, and I'm like, oh yeah, imagine that. And so I tried talking this guy out of it, and he's just like, no, I'm gonna be there in 30 minutes. Like, so I run in, I put some makeup on, you know, I'm like, okay, I didn't look too bad, you know, and I'm telling my staff, like, gosh, go in front of the news. And I don't even get KVAL. It was some Eugene station. So anyway, so I have to go down there, and he interviewed me, and he asked me all these questions. And so then I said, you know, I tried getting a word in about the pool renovation thing, but he didn't go for it. So he didn't air that, but anyway, so then I'm at home, I'm making dinner, and my phone blows up, and one of my son and daughter both swam at a junior college in Coos Bay, Oregon, and the coach for the team text me, and she's like, Lorlee, I just saw you on the news. I'm like, oh gosh. And I'm like, well, was I any good? And she goes, yeah, it was great. And I'm like, okay. And so then a couple of days goes by, and another patron comes by, and he's like, hey, I saw you on the news the other night. And I'm like, oh dear. So anyway, so that is why I make big bucks, because you never know when yes, you're a star. And I have to get in front of the camera.
So your lesson learned is that you always start with fundraising, telling you what on the camera,
Well,
and when
yes,
you get to have your say first.
I tried that, but he's like, well, my editor, I'm just here to talk about the Lynn County youth wage grant. So
Then we gotta make you a little sign.
T-shirt. Good.
Donate. So yes, I'm very familiar with that program. It's a great program.
Yes. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, I was happy to talk to Jereme tonight and you, and got some information about things I was wondering about. Other than that, people who said that the students only closed a week. I've seen it close 3 weeks when the whole thing has changed forever. And so, yeah, it was good.
Maybe we thought.
Huh?
We thought.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, be careful, it was dry too.
And I came in during the renovations and just check in, and Jim had creative solution to some of the problems going on, and I was impressed. And then there were people hard at work repainting those little
Yeah,
rows. Yes, girl, I saw you, the beautiful paint job. You guys are committed, and I love that. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, I was asking, that's what I want to do projections, but I think I get myself with that idiot talking about pumps. I don't know anything about. No, I don't have any suggestions, I'm sure.
Oh,
Between Lorlee and Rand, they had every idea covered already.
and Jim.
I appreciate hearing, forward thinking things like the digital age. I'll be savvy. I'll work with, I'm learning. But I know that's where we're going. I appreciate you guys working with us.
I just want to say one more thing, especially if you're out of the room. Just a reminder that we have until first week of October to get our updates to Lorlee for the employee manual if you have anything like that. Get October 1st, right around then. With that, I'm going to move to the adjourned meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
We almost made it by 8.
Thank you for all your full clarity, it's awesome, temperature is awesome.
those of us who are in the pool every day really.
Yes.
I enjoy it. I do enjoy my job.
God, I think you feel under many times.
Locking you in there.
Yeah, that one.
We can see this one.
I think I got the wisdom. Good night. Good to see you. Chris has been bow hunting and I might have touched his clothes and then I don't know. I think it was, I don't know.
Actually hung out just in case there were questions on the pool. What was done. But, well,
Oh, man, I thought of asking it, you know, I would have loved your.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's right.